Hi, this is Marcel here from Marcelo and Company, and I'm here with Mr. Andrew Lee, my friend and cousin, and we decided to have a little talk about people tonight. Okay, we decided we weren't going to do a video, but we were just going to have a live audio feed to the program. And so, Andrew, what you have to say about that? Because this thing about good and bad people is a very important subject.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's a very important subject. And, I asked the question to you, what's the difference between good people and bad people? And if anybody wants to know what you think about good people and bad people, they can watch your last video that you reposted. And I think you explained to me you went into great detail. So, we don't probably need to spend this video you rehashing everything you went over in that video, but you kind of gave me some key points. And so, your key points. But then let's talk about what makes a person bad, because I think this is the part where I think we had the best discussion. Because I don't think anybody will argue. If someone's giving things to people, if someone's um, responsible, if someone's compassionate, then we would all agree that they're good people.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So let's talk about bad people. What did you define as bad?
Bad people, there are some people that are evil to the core.
Okay.
All right. There are some people that are just bad. My friends, by the way, excuse me for a second. Let me plug the video that that I did a few months ago,
Okay.
and that I reposted tonight on all of my pages. Okay, I reposted it on my page, Marcel Nicholas. I reposted it on Marcelo and Company, and I reposted it on the would-be first female POTUS. Okay, so what we're saying here, uh, why are you putting your hand in my food? What we're saying here is that some people are just bad to the core, right? Some people are good. Some people, and the other thing I can say about it, you can be too good and you can be, well, can you be too bad? What do you say, Andrew?
Yeah, I think.
I think you can be too good, okay? But I don't know if we could apply that to bad.
So I think bad is where we start to get into some debate. And
Because some people will sit here with you, Andrew,
Mhm.
in your own house and eat your food and
Yes.
drink your wine,
Right.
right? And soon as they walk out the door, my grandfather used to tell me, as they're leaving your house, they
Right.
will wipe their greasy hands from your food
Uh-huh.
on your wall that you just painted.
Hmm. And
That
so,
was from my grandfather
right.
on my father's side.
Right.
See, they'll come in your house, eat your food,
Right.
drink your wine
Right.
and your soda and your water,
Right.
and as they leave your freshly painted house, they will wipe their hands on your wall.
Right. So would you say that that person is a bad person?
Absolutely.
And so the activity that they did by wiping their hands on your walls was a bad act because it showed that they were not grateful to what they just received, right? Was the
If they
food.
just receive your food, how do they go out and wipe their hands on your wall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I mean, some people are stupid, granted. Okay? Some people are stupid to where
Right.
they might not even think about that.
Right.
And this is
Right.
another thing that
Right.
is very interesting
Right.
in because I come from the Haitian community.
Okay.
And in the Haitian community, we have something called family education.
Okay.
I'm sure you have it too because your parents are from
My dad's
Bahamas,
from Jamaica. Yeah.
Jamaica and Bahamas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
My
these
dad's from
people,
Bahamas.
they have some of that also, okay? Which is like family education.
Right.
Okay, certain things you're gonna learn in school, but certain things you have to learn at home.
Right.
Your parents have to instill some values into you,
Right.
like responsibility. If you have children, right? You suppose my grandfather again. Okay, as I mentioned, my grandfather again said to me, Marcel, I don't care if you go and have sex with a maid and have a child, that's your child, okay? And your child, as such, should be taken care of and given full rights.
Right.
Okay, you should devote yourself to your children. Your children.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I get that. I just seen the opposite of that at times where I deal with a lot of people that some of the things. Let's just take what you said. You know, I'll use a prime example. I know people that will come into your house and they won't speak to everybody when they walk into the room. They're not a bad person, but they were never raised that way. Like
That's
they
right.
literally were raised in a house where maybe the people in the house didn't even talk to each other.
Right.
Right. So when they would come home, they would just come home, go in their room, and so now they have like anxieties about walking into big rooms of people. And it's not that they're a bad person, but they just don't even have that in them at this point.
You know what I do, Andrew? If I walk into a room, right, and I'm not gonna go and greet every person, every person that's there,
Right.
in person, okay, I'll just wave hi to it, the whole room.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because in Haitian family education, okay, we kiss.
Right.
Everybody, all the men kiss all the women there, right, on the cheek.
Right.
Okay, twice sometimes if you depending on your level of education.
Right.
You might kiss on both sides. You know, if you're not gonna do that or you're only gonna partly do it, I'd rather just like
give a hi.
Give a hi to everyone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But some of that is culture because, like right now, I have stores that I visit for my job. Some of them are in Naples and some of them are in Miami. In Miami, every time I walk into a store, even if I don't know the people that well, they pull you in, you hug them, and you give them a kiss.
Right.
Because a lot of them are of island descent, so a lot of Cubans or Dominicans or Haitians, like a lot of that. But in Naples, most of the people are of American descent and things of that nature, where if I was to grab one of them and kiss them on the cheek, I would be in the HR department, right? So, but if I did that in the other stores, then they would think I was rude. So a lot of things, I think, like good and bad or manners or rude things, it's about your upbringing. So we'll go back to like what's good or bad. So we were talking about
The Sopranos. We're talking about The Sopranos.
Yeah, we're talking about The Sopranos, where, you know, Tony Soprano, if you watch the TV show, you could say he was a great father.
Yeah.
He provided for his family.
His kids went to college.
His kids went to school. But when he left the house, he was a murderer.
He had to go out there and kill people.
Yeah, he was a murderer.
You owe him money, you better pay or he's going to kill you.
And so, like, but he was raised in that environment.
Yes, he was.
He was raised by criminals.
Absolutely.
So is he a bad person?
Well, you got to, there has to be a bottom line. Okay? To me, I would classify Tony Soprano as 75% bad.
Right.
Okay? Because although you do have to give him credit for his family life, right? Whereas he lives in his house, he slept in his house every night with his wife, right? He sent his children to college and so on, and was a provider for the family.
Right.
But he was a murderer.
Right.
And a murderer, all right, no matter how you slice it, you can't put it at 50-50, huh?
Right.
It has to be 75-25 at the best.
So I think a murderer is probably the most extreme version of this good and evil conversation. But let's take Donald Trump, like we were talking about earlier.
Well, they are people who are just like con men.
So, well, Donald Trump's father was a real estate tycoon also.
Right.
So Donald Trump was raised watching his father broker these deals. Some of them good, some of them bad. His father gave him his first loan in order to get into the same business.
Right.
So would you say that he came up with all these ideas on his own about how to run businesses, or he was influenced by how he was raised.
Well, with him, I would say it's a combination.
Okay.
It's a combination of how he was raised, and it's a combination of his personality.
Okay.
His personality is an egomaniac.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, an egomaniac to me is not necessarily a bad word. Okay. Because I was a big fan of his.
Okay.
As a young businessman,
Right.
I thought a lot of him, and also I thought a lot of the one that started CNN, Ted Turner,
Okay.
the one that was married to Jane Fonda.
Okay.
All right, those were my heroes as a businessman.
Right.
Now, I may have never found out anything about Trump if he hadn't been a candidate for president, like that Trump University. I never heard of that.
Right.
Did you hear about it? I never heard of it.
It came out when he was running for president.
That's when it came out.
But the thing is, if I research a lot of great businessmen, there's a lot of failures that they've had in their past.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. That's
that
an absolute.
literally you won't find out about ever, because at the end of the day, their victories were so great. Is that these failures, and a lot of people lost money during those times.
Well, the thing I liked about it, right, was the fact that Trump, okay, he was being successful, and he had his name on everything, from the Trump Shuttle to the Trump Castle to the Trump Taj Mahal to Trump Towers to Trump. You know, I was impressed by that. You know what I'm saying? He kept buying and buying and buying, you know, and it was like, wow, this man can't do no wrong.
Right, until everybody found out it was pretty much a house of cards, and then at the end, there wasn't enough revenue to support all this. But it doesn't. I go back to my first statement about it. How he did it or what he didn't. For me, I don't define it as good or bad. I just define it as he was raised a certain way. He executed a certain strategy. It got him to where he was. Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, like
he was. At the end of the day, the man is a successful guy.
I mean, he's 70, and then also think even to this day, he's in his mid or early 70s,
right?
And he's the president of the United States.
Correct.
Gave him a chance.
Correct.
I mean, the guy is, and again, I don't want to come off as a Trump supporter per se, because a lot of the things, the way he says it towards certain people and communities, I wouldn't have phrased anything in that way.
I actually supported him for the first part of the campaign.
Right.
I supported him until during the debate, right? Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida, came out with this Trump University thing. And I'm like, really? Was he making his money that way, really? You know? And that's when I decided, you know.
I think that was one of the lanes he used to make money. But, like, money is a concept, by the way. So, like, to be honest, whether someone takes you your money or gives you money, that really isn't anything much more than an idea. Some people attach themselves so much to money, they judge good or bad by how much money you got or how much money you don't have. I really don't put a lot of value on success on the money aspect, because it's just an idea, it's a concept. And if you understand how money works, like how his family understood how money works, then you would probably be in the same lane that he's in, or you wouldn't have this type of judgment about it. I think the people that judge it really just it's kind of an emotional attachment to it. But we can have a different debate on what money means. But
let me interrupt you for a quick second.
Okay.
My friends, okay, I just reposted a show that I did about good and bad people on all of my pages, starting with Marcel Nicholas to Marcelo and company to the would-be first female POTUS. Okay, and it's also on YouTube on Marcelo and company Nicholas. So you might want to check out this video to see what we're talking about when it comes to this thing about good and bad people, because they do exist both ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think so. I'll go back to it where I think anybody can look at what you're doing and they can classify it as good or bad, right? They can say, for example, take someone who's too nice, for example.
Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder sometimes.
So, like, let's take those people you invited over to your house, they ate your food, and then they wipe their hands on this, right?
On your wall.
On your walls, right?
Right.
And, you know, I can almost say that at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
those people that wipe their hands on their wall, you could say they were bad, but I could also look at the people who had those people in their house. If you invite them back to your house, what does that make you, right? If you continue to have them involved,
Uh-huh.
and I see that to this day where I see people surround themselves with people that
They know.
that do things to
Uh-huh.
them, and so at the end of the day, and then they'll wait till the people leave their house and they'll talk bad about them and say, hey, they wiped their hands on my house, you know, they wiped their hands on my wall,
Mm-hmm.
but you invited them over to your house
Right. Again.
right?
Mhm.
So like you guys, I think there's a dance
Mhm.
routine to good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It takes two people. Somebody has to judge it as good, somebody has to judge it as bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's two participants.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I get perplexed. And I also think that I have trouble judging people because we all have our own journey. We've all been raised differently. We've all been seen differently.
Uh-huh.
There's kids
Uh-huh.
that participated in genocide
Uh-huh.
because they were raised to be war machines.
Right.
And they kill
That's
people.
going on right now in Africa.
Yes, they kill people.
Uh-huh.
So the action that kid did would not be considered good by majority of society.
But that kid can change.
But is he a bad person?
That kid can change them.
Right. But really he's an example of how your environment dictates your behavior. And I think a lot of these actions that we consider
Very
bad,
important point.
yes.
Very important point you just made right there. Environment, 90% of the time, will direct your life.
Right.
Environment
Yes.
will have a serious impact, okay, on your life.
Right.
10% of the people are going to be good no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? 10% of the people could be raised in the most dysfunctional family atmosphere that you could ever imagine, and still they become doctors, lawyers, and very successful people.
Yes.
Because the environment where they were growing up was bad, but the environment maybe in the school or maybe with one friend that they hung out with,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Environment really is an important
Yeah, I agree.
determining factor in how somebody turns out.
Absolutely. So I think that's a key element in this whole conversation, because that's why I said, how did Donald Trump grow up? Or how did that person grow up who wiped their hands on your wall? Or how that person grow up who walks into your house and doesn't say anything to anybody?
Uh-huh.
A lot of it is predicated on their environment, how they grew up and what was going on. So it's just a little bit harder for me to classify people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this kid that shot up the people in Parkland, you know, this kid was a foster child, you know, went from group home, had some trouble and had some issues, things like that. Now, does he know the right or wrong? Does it make anything that he did
How old was
good or
he?
bad?
Was he 17 or
19
18?
years old.
19?
It was 19. And,
Okay, at 19, let's think about it, Andrew.
Yeah.
At the things we did at 19, right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to defend a killer.
I'm not here to do that either.
You know, I'm not going to defend a killer.
Right.
But what I'm going to say about it is, at 19, okay, we did certain things, right, that we're not proud of
Absolutely.
right now.
Absolutely.
Okay? I mean, we didn't kill anybody.
Right.
Okay? But for luck,
Yeah.
I could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
You know, not with a gun,
Maybe
but with a
your
car.
Right. You could have been
You
drinking.
know what I'm saying?
Driving. Yeah, absolutely.
In my day, you could drink and drive.
Yeah.
As there was a manly thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, and the police actually, when they caught you drunk driving,
Yeah.
in my day when I just got to the States in 75, 76,
Yeah.
they would tell you, sir, I think you should park the car here and call a cab. Or they'll even call you a cab.
Right.
Or give you a ride home.
Right. Right.
Now it's a ride to jail.
Right.
Because I'm mad.
Right.
Mothers against drunk drivers.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like, we've gotten smarter and we've evolved that's not the right thing to do for society.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were doing that, like, for example, I know people that were raised maybe during that time in the 70s or whatever,
Uh-huh.
where they
60s,
60s,
yeah.
70s, they experimented with drugs, they did all these things. Where now, with the information,
Mm-hmm.
if you did that, then it's like, ooh, you're bad.
Uh-huh.
But if you did it back then,
It was nothing.
it was nothing.
It was expected, as a matter of fact.
Because that was the culture of the time.
That was a good day. Some good days back then. I gotta tell you,
that was
I lived in Michigan, right? I lived in Michigan back in those days, and guess what? It was experimentation time.
Right.
White girls want to sleep with black guys,
Right.
and vice versa to a certain extent.
Right.
Okay, you go to the discos. You know, in the 70s, I was in Michigan, so the discos were in downtown Ann Arbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after the discos at 2, they close at 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And then guess where the after parties were? Farmhouses. racing your car, and it was back in the day when like you had the little tires in the front and the big tires in the back, like dragsters.
Yeah.
You know, and then we race to the farm.
Right.
And then there are bonfires.
Yeah.
Okay, and man, and people are just.
Yeah.
Sometimes I never know how I got home.
Right.
I just realized that I woke up in my bed sometimes.
Right. And so back then you did that, and you were considered just an innocent teen. Right now you do that, you're irresponsible.
That's very irresponsible now, because with education,
right,
okay, you have more responsibilities.
Right.
Okay, we didn't know any better.
Right.
Back then.
Right.
Like people in the 40s. Okay, there are things that they did than people in the 40s.
Right.
Okay, that right now would absolutely be like capital sin.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think a lot of this, even with Donald Trump, I'll just go back to him. Some of the things that he's saying and doing, some of that stuff comes from the 40s, 50s, and 60s still. You understand what I mean? I don't think he's necessarily a bad person, but what he's saying resonates from the people of that time period.
We got quite a few listeners here.
Yeah. You know, so like that's why I have trouble judging people, because he's 70 years old. So that means he was born in probably 1940. Right. So then he probably was raised in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Where racism, equal rights, entitlement, all those type of things that define who he was. White people had a superiority complex. That literally black people were second-class citizens, rode the back of the bus.
It was normal. It
was normal. Just like drag races, smoking, doing drugs, and all that kind of stuff. So once you get that stuff in your DNA, and you're over 30, 40 years old, and the times have changed, it ain't that easy for you just to change and say, you know what? Yeah, now I'm going to be politically correct. Now I'm going to do this. No. You were raised a certain way.
But at the end of the day, right? What do you think about this? Because I'm not going to make this as a statement. I'm going to put it in the form of a question.
Okay.
What do you think about this thing where you have a good heart?
Right.
You know, you have a good, kind, generous heart.
Right.
Okay. What do you think about that?
I think it's also situational. Because again, you take people with good hearts, but if they were raised a certain way, they may only be good to their people.
Right. Well, there's a clan thing. There's a clan mentality.
They're good to their own. But if you're an outsider, that same good heart, they may think they're doing the right thing by their people by destroying you.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
They're trying to preserve their people and their goodness by destroying the people that are going to attack.
But Andrew, you see, I write about this on my Facebook page, okay?
Yeah.
And I said, a lion has never paid any mind to the sentiment and feelings of an antelope, okay?
Right.
Because the lion has to eat the antelope in order to provide, or kill the antelope in order to provide for the young.
Right.
Okay? But we are not lions. We are not in the wild animal kingdom.
Right.
We are in the animal kingdom for sure, but we're not in the wild animal kingdom.
Yeah.
And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we live by the same principles. You know, black people and white people and Spanish people and Asian people and Democrats and Republicans and whatever, we are kind of in that same boat, because once we classify ourselves as lions or sheep or whatever, then the goal is, if there's one side, there's another side, and you got to defend your side.
You know, that's a good point, because this is exactly why I went and changed my registration.
Yeah.
I was a Democrat.
Right.
Okay, and I actually went and changed my registration as independent.
Yeah.
Because there are things that both sides do
Right.
that I'm not with.
That you're not in line
I'm
with.
not in line with.
Right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I'm not in line with certain, because the Democrats can definitely get too far out of line on the
Right.
left, and the Republicans definitely get too far out of line
Absolutely.
on the right.
And
Look at the preachers.
Mhm.
Look at Billy Graham.
yeah.
Now Billy Graham was an example of a good man
Okay.
as a preacher,
Right.
but his son is not.
Mm.
Okay, his son is not. His
Right.
son is like, will defend to the death certain action by certain people just because he happened to align with them
Absolutely.
politically.
Absolutely.
That's not right.
Right. Well,
That's not right.
you could say, and again, this is why I have trouble judging people on those standards, because
Mm.
I think we all fall into these categories no matter what. So it just takes awareness that I'm in a like you said. I like the fact that you said I'm gonna change my registration. I'm independent, but the problem is you can't vote. You
But
still
for
gotta,
one or the
you
other.
gotta vote for somebody.
You gotta vote for one or the other.
You know what I'm saying?
Otherwise, your vote is wasted.
Right. So you gotta vote for somebody. You vote for the independent candidate, and then it doesn't matter.
No, you cannot. I cannot. I've never voted for one of those.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I know
a
that's a wasted vote.
Yeah.
Okay, but me personally, to live with myself,
Yeah.
okay, I feel I cannot call myself a Republican or a Democrat.
Right.
Okay, I prefer, and I am totally in line in my belief with the fact that I am an independent.
Right.
Okay, fine. I voted for Hillary.
Right.
Okay, because at the end of the day,
that
there were
more with what you believe.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there were two choices.
Yep.
Okay, that one of those two was going to be the president.
Right.
Okay, so I would have never voted for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson or anybody like that, because I know that was a wasted vote, and that actually cost Hillary the election.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do your research too, though, I mean, you know, black people tell Hillary was for, but you know, she enacted laws. Bill Clinton, the super predator,
Right,
which has incarcerated more black people than at any point in the United States history.
What about Obama?
You know,
deported more people than anybody. Obama deported more people than anybody else.
So I think life is very situational. It's how I stand on things, and I try not to judge anybody one way or the other. I try to understand their story first. This is my philosophy.
Sure.
I need to hear your story, understand who you are,
right,
and that gives me a better understanding of why you're behaving the way you're behaving. Versus just saying you're a good person or a bad person. Because I think your story is more powerful than your actions. Because
you do need to listen to the story.
Yeah.
Okay, but now you can only listen to it so many times.
Yes, but even that, like now the power, I don't give them the power. I still have the power to walk away. I still have the power not to invite you to my house. I still have the power to not have you around me. You understand? It doesn't mean that I judge you as bad. It's just that you're just not good for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not bad because guess what? Misery loves company. So there is somebody for you that will. If you're a criminal, there's other criminals that want to hang around you. If you're a murderer, there's the murderers that want to hang around. If you want to give away, there's other people. If you're whatever you are, you can find someone that will align with your belief system. And you know, but like you said, I lean more like you, where I'm an independent thinker to the point where.
Did you register?
I'm registered as a Democrat, but
no, I think my opinion as a good man that I know you are.
Yeah.
I say you should register as an independent.
Yeah.
You know, because from our little conversation here, I can see that you align your line of thinking is more independent.
Right.
Okay, because yes, at the end of the day, you do have to vote for either the Republican or the Democrat, because the system is set up like that until it changes.
Right.
It hasn't changed, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
I agree. But I also think that the system has become more, I call it WWE pro wrestling. You know, like it's so far this way, so far that way, that it's no longer, no matter who's in office, let's be honest, America is too strong to fall by any one of these candidates. So the American system is still going to be around because no candidate is strong enough to withstand any candidate that we have. So I think at the end of the day, I see it as entertainment.
Entertainment, but your life depends on it. Well, because somebody could declare war, you know?
Here's why. I think my life, remember what I told you before, if I don't like what you're saying, I don't like what you're doing, I believe in free will. I will go the other way. I will move the other way. I will constantly maneuver myself so that I can be happy with what's going on. So I don't ever have the victim mentality that, you know what, my government did this. Yeah. So that's why I'm in.
No, that's a bad mentality to have.
That's a victim mentality, right? What I do is, if there's new rules to the game, I do my research. I understand the new rules of the game, and I say, okay, how do I play the game? Do I want to play the game? Because I have choices.
Right.
I have choices.
We all have choices.
Absolutely.
Always, there's always a choice.
So that's why it's like those things don't bother me too much because I'm not dependent on the U.S. government to support my lifestyle. What I do. You know, I just want to understand the rules, know what we need to do for the next 4 to 8 years or whatever, and then I maneuver myself accordingly.
Yeah, but one thing I must take a little bit of an issue with is the fact that the president, okay, if you happen to make the wrong choice, okay, has the power of life and death over. Because I have children. You know, I have a son as young as 13, okay? And I have son as old as 40.
Right.
So therefore, okay, if somebody declares war to where they need to draft people, my kids are going to be involved.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, you know,
I get it.
It could be WWE, but at the end of the day, there's some reality to
listen, I agree with you 100%, and that's one thing. My opinion is based off of my circumstances, and so like my opinion will probably change as my kid goes from 1 year old to 18-year-old. Then I'm like, hey, you know, this is a big deal at this point. But that's why I think everything is situational,
right? And experience
based. Yes, I'm 34 years old, you know, and I think. I'm only speaking on what a 34-year-old knows at this point. And that's why I don't stand too hard on what I say, because in 10 years from now, if I'm listening to this audio,
may have
I may say, you know what, I sounded like an idiot. You know, because I didn't know. I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I think that's what life's about.
Okay, I think we got to wrap it up. Are we about to... Okay, my friends, we have to cut off the program. Because we had a birthday party. So until next time.